Tova mate, they wouldn't have a baby boy. Rather, they just say the Shechianu when they have the baby at the brit, when at the brit. And when they say the Shechianu at the brit, they have a mind for that as well. But that's what the Yalkut Yosef's opinion is. It could be other opinions, but the Shulchan Aruch clearly says to say it. Okay. Now we're on Bona Bayit Chadash V'Kana Ken Chadoshin. About 3 lines from the bottom. Morris, you got it? Nun Testament base, 3 lines from the bottom. Bona Bayit Chadash. If a person builds a new house, or he bought Kelim Chadashim, if he bought new Kelim, so what does the Mishnah say? If you buy a house, you say a Shechianu, you buy new Kelim, you buy Kelim Chadashim, whether it's you buy a new suit, or whether you buy something, a expensive watch, Kelim Chadashim, you say, go ahead and you say a Shechianu. We were discussing this last week. Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna says, 2 lines from the bottom, Lo shanu ela she'in lo kiyotzu behem. This halacha, that if you go ahead and if you buy kelim chadashim, new things, new items, that you have to go ahead and say a shechianu, that's only if you don't have in your possession other things similar to this. Let's say I bought a watch, expensive watch, but I have a watch like this here. Same type of watch I have. It's nothing really. It's just, I have a similar watch. So according to this opinion, even though it's another expensive watch, it's a new watch. Well, let's talk about a suit. I bought, morning, Mr. Haber. I have a suit, and then I go ahead and I bought myself another suit similar to the suit that I just had. So this opinion says that the time that the halacha that states that if you buy something new and it's chashuv, that you have to go ahead. Welcome back. That if you have to go ahead and say in the shechianu, that's only if I don't have something similar to this item that I just bought. But if I have something similar, I have a suit just like this, similar to the suit. No, it's no real difference in the suit. Then this opinion says, Ein sarach levarech. I do not need, and once I do not need to say the bracha, that I'm not allowed to say a bracha, then it'll be a bracha levatala. I'm not required to say a bracha according to this opinion. It's not the halacha. If I buy myself a new suit, if I had a suit, even let's say a person inherited a suit from his father, inherited something, and now he goes ahead and he buys a similar suit. So this opinion says he does not have to say a bracha on the second suit, because since he already experienced this type of suit before in his life, so the simcha, the happiness that he has, this second suit, is not great enough to warrant to say the bracha, to obligate the bracha of shechianu. We don't pass like that. And now, by the way, I saw in the Aruch HaShulchan yesterday, the Aruch HaShulchan states that there's 2 types of shechianu. There's a shechianu that we say by Yom Tov, comes Pesach, Sukkot. We say shechianu, shechianu v'kimanu with the kiddush. That shechianu seems to be a chovah. That shechianu you have to go ahead and say. The shechianu on Yom Tov, right? We say shechianu many times on different items, different situations. We say shechianu on a Yom Tov, right? We make kiddush. After we make kiddush, what do we say? Shechianu v'kimanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh. We thank Hashem that we reach this time of the holiday. When you buy a new suit, right? We also say, whichever communities we say shechianu. Is that shechianu response? Is that the same level of responsibility, or a new fruit? You go ahead and we say shechianu on a new fruit, right? Tu B'Shvat is coming in a couple of weeks. Many people like to use a new fruit for Tu B'Shvat. The main thing is you should say brachot on things that grow from the tree, but many people try to get a new fruit. Is that shechianu on a new fruit? Is that an obligate? When I have a new fruit, if I do not say shechianu on a new fruit, am I doing a violation of a responsibility that I have? Or is it called a reshut? I have a right to do it. I'm not obligated to go ahead and say the bracha of Shechianu. So the Aruch HaShulchan says in the morning, it depends which situation you're in. He says the way he says that the Shechianu on the holidays is an obligatory Shechianu. You have to say Shechianu on the holiday, correct? No, what do you say? It's in the Siddur, right? Ariel says it's in the Siddur. It's part of the text. But Shechianu in other situations, let's say, for instance, in the morning you see a friend that you didn't see in 30 days. And we said, and he's such a close friend of yours, your best friend, and you didn't see him 30 days. And you didn't have contact, let's say, because some say it depends if you had contact, you had no contact with him in 30 days. You didn't write them in 30 days. So there's a bracha called Shechianu when you see such a person. Are you obligated to say that Shechianu, or you have a right to say Shechianu? Understand the question? So he said all the other Shechianus are only a reshut. You have a right to, but it's not an obligation to go ahead and do it. Of course, you have an opportunity to do it. You take advantage of an opportunity to say a bracha, to show it, to express your feelings of uniqueness, of happiness for this occasion. You should do it, but it's not something you should do, but not an obligation. But he says, but when it comes to a new fruit, I think he says, the people accept it upon themselves like a chovah. And people are careful about a fruit Shechianu on a fruit. They say the Shechianu on a fruit in a very they took it upon themselves like a chovah. That means people are very careful about that. What do you say? If you didn't have that fruit, it's fruit that comes from season to season, so that it could be it's around twice a year, whatever, depending. But if it's not commonly around, the fruit that's not commonly around, that's that would be, comes from season to season. That is like people have accepted upon themselves. And everybody is careful about saying a bracha on new fruit. That's the Aruch HaShulchan. So now getting back to, so it's good to understand the difference between whether this bracha is an obligatory bracha or not obligatory bracha. So getting back to our Gemara. So the first opinion of Rav Huna, from the bottom of Nun Testament base, Rav Huna says the only time if you go ahead and if someone inherited a suit and then he bought a suit, the only time he'll go ahead and say Shechianu is only if the second suit is different than the first suit. But if it's similar to the first suit, he will not say Shechianu on the second suit. However, Rav Yochanan says, Afilu yesh lo ki yotzi behem. Even if he had something similar to this suit, he inherited this type of suit before, but he never bought the first suit. He inherited the suit. So buying something creates a great simcha. So if it's the first time you bought a suit in your life, even though you have a similar suit, so he says that's a great simcha, and therefore that would warrant to say a bracha on the second suit, even though you have a similar suit. But because the first suit you got, you just inherited it, and now you went ahead and you bought a second suit, that level of simcha would say that would require you. Then you say a bracha of Shechianu. Right, but the first, again, we're going to see, because what happened if he bought the first suit and now he bought a similar suit, meaning he bought suit number one, and then he went ahead and he bought suit number two. So this opinion would hold that everybody would hold you do not say Shechianu on the second suit. Why? Because since you already had the experience of buying a suit, and the second suit you bought was similar to this first suit, so the simcha, the happiness, again, that's not the halacha, but this is the first lashon of the Gemara. The happiness is not so great because you already bought one before. You had that experience. What do you say, Mr. Haber? Any comment on this opinion? But this is the first opinion in the Gemara. First, that's what the Gemara is going to say, Daniel. Michlal, now on Samach and Aleph, Mazel Tov, Mabruk. Good morning, Yosef Tzadik. On Samach and Aleph. Michlal, good morning.
I thought anything is new, no matter what, if you have another one, you still have to say Sheikhiyanu, because it's a new. It's the first time you wear it. So
You're correct. You're going with the second lashon again. It has to be new. It has to be something special, something unique, something chashuv. We're gonna see. We're gonna see in the Gemara. Stay tuned. But again, if you buy yourself, you buy yourself a new shirt, you wouldn't say a shechiyanu on a new shirt. Buy yourself a new suit, you would say shechiyanu on a new suit. Something of chashivut, something very special. Michlal, look at
special.
Yes. What?
What if the shirt is special for you?
So that was our discussion last week. I don't know if anybody did any homework on it. We could take out the shulchan aruch. If you have I wanted to say that if you have a shirt, it's a very expensive shirt, extremely expensive shirt that you generally will not buy, right? A $200 shirt. Who buys a $200 shirt? I don't know, on a regular basis type of thing. I would say to me, it should be just like a suit, because if you have great simcha in that shirt, we don't hear of people saying a shechiyanu on a shirt because generally a shirt is not something that's so special that it's something you buy more often on a regular basis. So therefore, I would say that's why people don't say shechiyanu on a shirt. Let's say a person buys himself a sweater, right? How often do people buy themselves a sweater? They buy themselves a very expensive sweater. I would say, in my humble opinion, very expensive sweater. It could cost who knows what, it depends. The sweaters and the sweaters. Very expensive.
Involved into that.
Very expensive, great simcha. I would think you should say shechiyanu if there's great simcha and it's an expensive sweater. And when I talk about expensive, I'm not talking about $50 to $40, $50. That's what I would say. What?
That, Rabbi.
What'd you say?
Why money is getting involved into that? There's the value of the money should not be that as important as it's actually new or not new. It's the first time you're wearing it or not.
Right, but the value of the money maybe will indicate if it's chashuv, if it's an important item. If you go ahead and you buy yourself, see, this was our discussion last week with Mr. Haber. If a person buys himself a $10 suit, this is the question we had last week. If you have a $10 suit, and everybody will agree that this $10 suit is nothing special. Nothing special. The material is not good material. Let's say you buy yourself they sell a suit and it's not chashuv. It's not chashuv.
What if it's $1,000 suit and somebody was on sale for like $10?
That's fine. Then it's $1,000 suit. It's still a chashuv. It's still an important suit. The fact that you got $10, that's still very important. So something chashuv. But if something has a retail value on a regular basis, 365 days a year, the retail value is $25. That's the value. Sells for $25, 365 days a year. Now so obviously it would seem to me if it sells for 365 days, it's not something of chashivut. If it's only $25, that's what I would say. It's up for discussion. Yes, what do you want to say, Yosef?
No, I'm saying the older after all, because you don't know if you're going to buy only clothing in sales rack, so you're going to find a 75, 85, 95% discount,
I said agree. I agree with you. Again, if something really is really chashuv, if something really is an important item, but it happens to be, you know how to shop. And because you know how to shop, you get it at a very good price. It's still something of importance. It's still something very chashuv. The fact that you know how to shop doesn't take it away from its chashivut. But if 365 days a year, the real value all over is $25, wherever you go, this is the price of the item. I would say the item is not chashuv. I would say if the price is $25, which probably the material is not so good, or whatever it is. That's what I would say. We could look more, maybe tomorrow we'll see a little more on the matter. So now the Gemara continues. We're on Samach Amar Aleph, 1 Akiva. The Gemara says on top of the page, Michlal dechikana v'chazer v'kana divrei hakol ein tzarich levarech. The first opinion holds that if you bought and then you bought again another suit similar to the first suit, you will not need to say shechiyanu on the second suit, according to the first opinion, because you already had the experience. You already bought once before, and you didn't buy anything different. You bought something very similar to the first suit. That's the first opinion in the Gemara. However, the Ika de Amri, now in the second line of the Gemara. Ariel, you got it? Ika de Amri. Omar Rav Huna. We have a different version in what we are now on Samach Aman Aleph. We ask everyone to turn the page. We are now on Samach Aman Aleph 60a. Okay, now Omar Rav Huna. Lo shanu ela shalo kana v'chazda v'kana. He said that din that we said is only if you buy new utensils, is only talking about when you did not buy the first utensil, and then you went ahead and you bought. That means to say you inherited that. We say if you inherited the first suit, and then you went ahead and then you bought the second suit. So therefore, this is the first time you bought the suit. So therefore, since it's the first time you bought a suit like that, if you feel great that you're able to afford buy the suit. So even though you have a similar suit to this version of the opinion, you would still say a bracha on the second suit. Because it's the first time this Lashon holds, everybody would hold that if an inherited the suit and then he bought the suit, he will have to say a bracha on the second suit. But if he was of a kana v'chazav a kana, but if you bought the first suit and then you bought the second suit, ein sarich levarech. That's where Rav Huna says you will not say a bracha. If you bought the suit and then you're wearing a nice suit, Morris, right? If you bought this suit and then you bought a similar suit like this suit, this opinion says you will not say Shachiano on the second suit. Why? Because since the experience of buying you already had, it's your second suit, and the second suit is similar to your first suit, so this opinion says you will not say a bracha on the second suit. Yes. Right. The first time you go into the sukkah, you say the first day you say Shechianu, not the second day. The freshness, the newness, the first time you went into the sukkah, you say Shechianu. Very good. So now, Rabbi Yochanan argues, and this is the halacha. Afilu kana v'chazav v'kana sarach levarech. He says, even though you bought it the first time, it's not your first experience of buying a suit, and you bought another suit, and it's similar to the second suit, you still have to say a shechianu on the second suit, and that's the halacha. The fact that you bought the first, it's not your first new experience. You already bought a suit before, and you bought a suit similar to this before. The fact is, you bought a new suit. It's a special thing. It's a special item. You don't buy this every day. You feel the great happiness, the great simcha that you were able to buy a new suit. You go ahead and you say a shechianu. And you see there's a little letter on top of Yochanan on the afilu. You see in the 4 lines from the top, everyone see that little aleph? You see that aleph? That takes you to the top left corner of the Ein Mishpat and then mitzvah. It's called the Eye of the Law. And this is Maiman, Perek Yud, Milchas Brachot, Halacha Aleph, Smag Aseh, and Tur Shulchan Aruch, Orachaim, Siman Reish Chav Gimel. That's where it's found. That's the halacha. That's the halacha. You would say a new bracha you would say a shechianu on the second suit. Now, Michlal, the Gemara says, Michlal, Chiyeshlo, Vikana, Divrei HaKol Sarach Levarech. The second language of the Gemara holds, the second opinion of the Gemara holds, that the second version of the Ika Amri, that if a person inherited suit number 1, and then he bought suit number 2, everybody agrees, he says a bracha on suit number 2. So what's happening here is we have two versions of the Rav Huna. There's a whole question. We have machloket to Rav Huna and Rabbi Yochanan, and there's this different opinion of what each opinion said. Okay, we have a machloket. We have a dispute between these 2 rabbis, and we have different opinions exactly what the dispute between the 2 rabbis was. The second language of the Gemara, the second text of the Gemara has it that everybody holds if suit number one was inherited and suit number two was bought, it's the first time you bought this type of suit, even though you already inherited a similar suit. But if this experience buying your first suit, everybody holds you have to say a shechianu. That is the second text. The first text says no. The first text has Rav Huna saying no, even though it's the first time experience of buying a suit. But if you have a similar suit, even though you inherited the first suit, it's the first time you had the occasion to walk into a store, got money in my pocket, I feel like a man, I could buy the suit. He says you don't say shechianu if you have a similar suit. That's the first text. The second text says no. Everybody agrees such a scenario you'll say a shechianu. The only time Rav Huna says you wouldn't say shechianu is if you already bought, you already had the experience of buying before, and then now you go ahead and you bought another suit similar, then you won't say a shechianu. So that's the Gemara. What the Gemara is going to do from here on is we'll see how the Gemara is going to question these which text of the Gemara is more accurate. That's what the Gemara is trying to figure out, which is going to be the one that we have to follow la halacha. Okay. Anybody have any questions over here? Everything is so clear. There's no questions. Yeah. No, we're saying even if it's the same style. See, if it would be a different style, then it's a total new thing. But if we're talking about, then you should have to say it. Shouldn't be any question. We're talking about if there's a similar style suit, so you already had that experience in life of having such a suit, but it's new. It's a new suit. You went ahead, you buy yourself a suit, but you like this suit so much, you go in and you bought another suit similar to that suit. So that's the question. If I bought suit number one, and then I bought new suit number two, and suit number two is similar in style to suit number one, you have to say shechianu. That is the question in the Gemara. That's the opinions of the Gemara. Meitive. So now the Gemara is going to challenge on the second, we're going to be challenging the second text of the Gemara of understanding of the machlok of Rav Huna and Rav Yochanan. Meitive. Bara bayit chadash. A guy goes ahead and he builds a new house. Ve'ein lo kiyotzebu. Houses sometimes they can have a similar house. Similar type of house. It's a 3-bedroom house, and it's a similar type of kitchen. Everything, whatever it is, and it's pretty much a similar type of house that I had before. It's a similar type of house. So what happens here? Here we have the case. What about ve'ein lo kiyotzebu? I don't have another house similar to this house. So if I build another house, and I don't have another house similar to what's going to be, I'm going to say a shechianu on the second house, correct? I built a new house. I don't have another house like this house. I'll say a shechianu on the second house. Or, kelim chadashim, I bought new kelim, a new suit, we'll say, a new watch, expensive watch, new suit. Ve'ein lo kiyotze behem. And I don't have a similar to this suit. So what does this opinion say? Sarich levarech. In such a case, so this opinion says the only reason why I have to go, I say shechianu on the second suit or the second house is because I don't have something else similar to this style. But if I have something similar to this style, even though this is the first time I purchased a suit, because the first suit I got because I inherited it from my dad, but nevertheless, I do not say a bracha on the second suit, according to this opinion. Yeshlo kiyotze bohen, if I have similar to this, ein sarich levarech. I do not say a bracha on the second suit if I have something similar to it, meaning even though he inherited the first suit, and therefore it was a whole new experience buying the second suit. He never bought a suit in his life. Even though he didn't buy a suit in his life, he still goes ahead. Since he has a similar style, he don't say a bracha shechianu. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda says, ben kach u ben kach. Whether you have similar or whether you don't have similar to style to this. Since the first suit I did not buy, the second suit I bought, So it's a new experience. It was a new experience of buying a suit for the first time in my life. The fact that I have a similar suit to this doesn't make a difference. I need to say a shechianu on the second suit because that experience, that happiness that I have for able to go into a store and buy a suit. What do you say, Morris? I bought that suit. I got to say a shechianu. That's what this lashon says. But again, this language, this opinion is saying that the first suit I did not buy. The first suit I inherited. It's the second suit that I'm buying. I have to say shechianu on the second suit, even though I have a similar style. Because the first experience was buying the suit. Therefore, the simcha, the happiness. Remember, shechianu has to do with the happiness. There's a happiness issue here. You have to be happy about this. You feel a simcha for this purchase. It's not something that you just, you bought yourself a pair of socks. You know what I'm saying? It's a different level of happiness. But you buy yourself a pair of socks, you buy yourself a pair of suit. Right? It's a different level of happiness. Right. So if your father gave you a new suit, then if it's the first, if your father gave you a new suit, you would say shechianu on the new suit that your father gave you. The question is, if I have a similar suit that my father gave, let's say I went ahead, my father gave me a suit that I already have that type of suit. So then that would be a question because I don't feel maybe great simcha. I didn't buy the second suit. I only inherited the second suit. But if my father gives me a suit, I don't have a suit like that, then I should say shechianu, right? Really, the halacha states hatova meitiv is only when two people are benefiting from this item. This item is for multiple people. Hatova meitiv is only when you have an item. Let's say you buy something for your house, and you're buying it for your wife, for yourself. It's for multiple people having the benefit from it. But something that's personal, a suit, is for yourself. Then you say that's a shechianu. Okay. Now, that's the first opinion. Good, Ariel is good. That's the first opinion of the Gemara. Divrei, but you're right, Daniel. If a father gives if someone inherits something from his father, he'll say a shechianu. It's the first time he got it, and he never had it before. No, you're right. If someone gives you, see, there's a whole question in Shulchan Aruch. You're on a very good point. If somebody gives you a gift of something special, let's say they give you a suit, which you brought up the question. What would be the bracha if someone gives you something special, give you an item? Someone gives you a watch, expensive watch, gives you a suit, gives you a car, right? You'll still make a bracha because of the special uniqueness. The question is, with the bracha, if someone gives it to me, do I say shechianu or do I say a tova meit? And the question is, what's the question? Rabbi, you just told me before that the bracha is shechianu when it's personal, right? So there's an amazing machloket between, it would seem to me, between the Sfardim and Ashkenazim. If you look, the Tosfos says, he brings the Yerushalmi, that the Yerushalmi says that if somebody gifts you something, you say a bracha of atova meitiv. You hear what the Yerushalmi says? If somebody gives you something special, if I buy the suit, I say a shechianu. If somebody gives me a suit, I say a tova meitiv. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch for the Sfardim. It says that's the bracha that you would say. The Chafetz Chaim recommends shechianu. Aruch HaShulchan didn't make a comment. Sounds like he might agree that you say tova meitiv. So we have an opinion that says if someone gives you a suit, he buys you a suit, it's a sport, and he bought you a beautiful suit. He paid for it. You didn't pay for it. So what's the bracha that you say? So the Shulchan Aruch says tova meitiv. Why? Because tov is you got a suit that you say a tov. Meitiv is also I'm saying it's also good for the person who gave you the suit. Why is it good for him? Because if the person who received the suit was poor, right? like in the yeshiva, in MTJ, in yeshiva, Pesach time, they would give out suits years ago. They would give out suits to the students of the yeshiva. There was a wealthy person who made sure that the students should have suits for covered Yom Tov, for covered Pesach. They gave out suits for the students of the yeshiva. That for many, many years, that was such a thing. Many students came from poor homes. So the person who gave, so now the person who received the suit, some say you're supposed to say Hatova HaMeitiv on the suit. Why? It's good for me, I got the suit, but it's good for the person who gave me the suit. Why? Because if he gave it to a poor person, so he get a great mitzvah of tzedakah. The suit is good for both of us, me and the guy. And if he's not a poor person who received the suit, let's say it was your friend, you buy for your friend the suit, and the guy you gave it to was not poor, but the fact that he accepted the suit from you, he accepted the gift, is also something that's very meaningful to you. So therefore, it's good for you and it's good for him. So therefore, if you gift somebody something, it would seem like from the Shulchan Aruch, for sure for the Svardim, that the bracha of the person who receives the gift, he'll say the bracha Tova Meitiv on the Nana Shachion. That's a very interesting point. I was just moved by the fact that that the person who gave the gift, if he gave a gift to a poor person, to a child, whatever, that would change the bracha for the one who received it, because it's good, tov, it's good for the guy who gave it, that he merited the mitzvah tzedakah, that he gave to the poor child or the poor person, then therefore the bracha changes, because they both benefited. I felt moved by that halacha. Okay, getting back to the Gemara. But yesh lo ki yotze behem, ain't tzarich levarech. So the Gemara says, but if you have a house, so the Gemara said, let's see again the Breita. Meitive. You have the Gemara, Meitive, the Breita. We're going to ask the question. Bona bayich, about 6 lines from the top. Bona bayit chadash. If you went ahead and you built a new house, ve'ein lo kiyotze beho, and I do not have another house similar to this house, or shekana kilu chadashim ve'ein lo kiyotze beho, or I bought new suit and I do not have a suit similar to this, then this opinion says I have to say bracha on the second suit. But yesh lo kiyotem, if I have something similar to this, ein sarich levarech, I do not need to say a bracha on the second suit, according to this opinion. Divi Rameya. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda says, so again, the first opinion says, if I have something similar, even though it's the first time I bought, but if I have something similar, I do not say a bracha on the second suit. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ben kach or ben kach sarich levarech. Rabbi Yehuda says, whether I have something similar, whether I don't have something similar, since it's the first time I bought something, I have to say a bracha. First time I bought something special suit, I have to say a bracha on the second suit, even though I have something similar. Now, Bishlam Alishna Kama. The first language of the Gemara, they're going to say, how are they going to explain these two opinions? We had Rav Huna and Rav Yochanan, and we have in the Braita, we have Rav Meir, Rabbi Yehuda. So how does each rabbi explain their opinion? It seems like my opinion might be against the other rabbi in the Braita. Now, if I'm a later rabbi, I do not want to argue on an early rabbi. So, and a Morah doesn't argue on a Tanakh. So how would they explain? So the Gemara says, you would have, as my father, Rabbi London would say, you line up the men. You have to organize which opinion goes like which opinion. So this is Rav Huna to Rav Meir. Rav Huna is like Rav Meir. Rav Huna had a more stricter opinion, which said, if you have something similar, you do not say a bracha on the second suit, even though it was your first experience of buying. That's like Rav Meir. That's like Rav Meir's opinion. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan, who says that even if you had something similar, but it's your first experience of buying, that's like Rabbi Yehuda. Elishna Batra, the Gemara says, but according to the second lashon of the Gemara, so Bishlam, and then the second lashon of the Gemara said that if you bought if you bought, the second lashon of the Gemara hold that if you had and you bought, that means if someone inherited and then they bought for the first time, everybody holds you have to say a bracha. So Bishlam Rav Huna, who says that you do not say a bracha, he holds Rabbi Yehuda. He could fit in like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda that says that if you have Bishlam Rav Huna that says that you do not say a bracha, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. That Rabbi Yehuda says that if you have these type of things that fell in Yerusha, you say a bracha. If you went ahead and you bought things, like if you already bought things similar to this, you don't say a bracha. El Rabbi Yochanan. Now the Gemara quotes Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says that even if you if you bought the first time and you bought the second time, Rabbi Yochanan says you still have to say a bracha on the second suit, even though it's not your first experience. And even though it's a similar suit, you still have to say a bracha. The Amma Kaman, Lo Krameya, Lo Rabbi Yehuda. So the Gemara's question is, both Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yehuda, anyone who requires a bracha is only if you inherited the first time and you bought the second time. But if you bought the first suit you bought, the second suit you bought, they will not hold that you have to go in and say a bracha on the second suit. And according to the second lashon, Rabbi Yochanan holds you say a bracha on the second suit, even though the second suit you already bought previously. It's a little complicated, everybody. But we're going to end with this question. The Gemara's question is, Rabbi Yochanan, who was the most lenient opinion, and that's the halacha, who says that even though you had a similar suit, and even though the first suit you bought, and the second suit was not your first buying experience, but it's a new suit, you have to go say a shechar on the second suit, even though you previously bought a similar suit. The Gemara is questioning, he seems to be not fitting in like any opinion of the Braita. Because any opinion we didn't find in the Braita that if you bought it first and you bought a second suit similar, they have to say shechianu. Stay tuned tomorrow to be continued. TBC to be continued. Have a great day, everybody. It's a little complicated, but we'll get there.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, everybody. And we should all have the opportunity to buy new suits, be able to afford new suits. Have a great day, everybody. And Mazel Tov to Yaron. And Chodesh Tov, everybody. Don't forget Ya'aleh V'Yavo. Yaron is making a Brit this morning.